Hello, friend. The mystical American Patriots Society is transmitting to you from beneath 4 million cubic feet of solid granite, in the burning heart of the Yellowstone caldera. This is a variety program for normal sandwich-eating Americans with some concerns about living in a deranged, post-Christian technocracy. So, keep your third eye on the sky and your ear to the ground, as Sumo and Smokestack connect your main brain vein to a higher plane. Are you ready? Stand by.
Sumo, you there? You in studio?
Hello, yes, sorry.
Sumo, you sound kind of weird.
Hello? It's coming. Beep, boop.
I think we've got... this is deep fake Sumo. I think
beep, boop. Smokestack.
Sumo
What?
must be in the bathroom or something. I don't know.
Smokestack, 2 electrons.
I told you, your deep fake AI needs a tune-up. This is pathetic.
2 atoms were talking one night. One said to the other, "Hey, man, I think I lost an electron. Are you sure?" "Yeah, I'm positive."
I hope you're ashamed of yourself, because I'm ashamed of you.
Hello. Oh, sorry.
All right.
I had to.
Finally.
Sorry, I was running a little behind. And so I had to use my AI deepfake self to cover for me.
We start the show on time, even if the host is not present.
That's right. We're very prompt here. You
Yep.
said then the beauty of the new artificial intelligence is you don't even have to be there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They can just replace you completely. Was my deepfake still doing its weird physics jokes?
Yeah, it was embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, those used to kill in the physics department, but it's not hard to be the funniest guy in a physics department.
I imagine not.
It's hard to be the smartest guy.
Yeah.
Like Rocket Man could be the smartest guy.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's not hard to be the funniest guy.
Right.
By a long shot. So those sorts of jokes, I still program them in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just to have something for nostalgia purposes. Yeah, the deep fakes is a real problem. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but there's an increasing look, guys.
I'm looking.
The things have only begun to get weird. Things are going to get so much weirder in the coming time, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's been a lot of people that have been on the news that don't even exist.
I mean, was that Kourtney Kardashian that we were talking about earlier? Who else does not exist?
Kourtney Kardashian was on the news, and then it was halfway through it. It was clear that she was either spaced out on some crazy drug all of a sudden, like she was in the middle of an interview, and then the psychedelics kicked in, which is possible, or that they were interviewing a computer-generated Kourtney Kardashian that was having an AI malfunction. Because if you haven't seen this, they're talking to her, and they're like, and what do you think about that? And she goes, and she just sort of blankly stares off camera. And goes, "Oh yeah, sorry about that." And then she's silent awkwardly for like 15 seconds. They say, "Kourtney," she said, "It's coming in."
Yeah.
It's coming in. It's like, what's going? I was like, okay, we'll just talk to her later. And I've seen a number of these where, like, and some, like, the guy's head, like when he's moving, it's almost like, you know how if they move in front of a green screen, if you look closely, there'll be like a slightest pixelation around their body.
Yeah.
If they move too quickly. It was like that, but the reverse. It was like instead of the pixelation on the background is the pixelation of his own head.
Mm-hmm.
His own body as he moved around in front of the back. And then he acted weird. There's a lot of, I'm just saying, the Google AI can do a complete 3D representation that looks photorealistic or video realistic of a person with their voice being emulated by the AI as well. And you can interview people and have them not. Did you see when the Pope was a hologram? That was the weirdest one.
Oh, when he just blinked off? Yeah.
He just blinked off.
That was freaky.
He was on a balcony on TV, and then he's like sitting there. And guys, I know that sounds weird. People are going to be like, what? The Pope? Just Google Pope's the hologram, and you'll see the video.
It's not even, I mean, he's walking in. He doesn't make it all the way into the building from the balcony, and he just blinks off.
He just blinks off. He's waving to a crowd, and he turns around to go inside, and he gets like 2 steps in, and then he just blinks out of existence. Like they just stopped rendering him or something.
Yeah. I think RBG has probably been a deep fake for a while.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Oh, that's
Yeah.
one of my favorites. Is that she died years ago, and that she's still.
And then I think they're trying to wind that operation down because they realize they can't maintain it anymore. Either that or Trump found out about it, and he's like, "Okay, time to wrap it up, boys."
Yeah, but it does begin to because someone could conceivably die. Like let's say the Pope died.
Yeah.
And he could still make TV appearances for years.
Oh, sure.
But it would be a deep fake, and you would never know. It's very upsetting to think about all the implications of these things. But the Google AI, I believe it's called deep fake because it arose out of the AI program Deep Dream, which was an AI program started by Google some years ago. What it would do is it was assigned to like look at all YouTube videos and build. The goal of the AI was to build like coding mechanisms for every piece, like for like all the cats and all and then it could replicate them. It could just like, well, I'm gonna produce the same pixels on the screen as this thing,
right?
But I can move it in. But because I have so much video of them moving in different ways, I can make custom motions. Like just splice it together, and it's very advanced. It's very impressive. Google, I know you're listening. Deep fake, Google, but it is also a bit unnerving because at some point we're just all going to be deep fake.
Yeah,
the simulation meme is going to become so memed that it becomes real, and then I'm going to blame number 15 on it because
he let this happen.
He let that happen, and he's pushed the simulation meme so hard on me for years that now when I have to live it, I'm going to.
So what happens when you get arrested for something your AI doppelganger said on Twitter?
I know exactly. I mean, just the Twitter hack this week. Or whenever you're listening to it, whenever the Twitter hack happened, they could have conceivably, and in fact did, posted as if they were any world leader in the world.
Yeah.
So, for future reference, anything that I say on Twitter that you find offensive was a deep fake. And not me. And and that's true of actually anything that you ever hear me say or do. Even in real life.
I guess if you tweet something that you don't feel like you can walk back, you can just follow it up by a Bitcoin scam. And everyone will assume.
Well, what I always thought I would do. Here was my thing. If I ever got hacked and like let's say that I at 3 a.m. in the morning in the middle of some weird fever dream, I always figured if I posted something like ridiculous, that would have had everybody mad at me. On any medium, what I would do is then get up the next morning and then post like a bunch of links to like Kenya, and then like maybe some pornography sites. And I just do that for like 5-6 hours.
Right.
Then I would stop. Then come on and say, "Hey guys, sorry, my account got hacked."
Oh.
And then it would be like, yeah, okay, because what you do is you follow it up with things people expect hacker to post, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, whatever," Like Geert Wilders, the Norwegian fella or Dutch, whatever it is, they're all the same. His Twitter got taken over the hack. It was just ridiculous. But for all I know, he might have just been doing that on purpose. See, you can't even know anymore. He might have been doing it on purpose just for funny. and claiming it was hacked later.
So you can be your own bot.
You can be your own bot, and in fact, you should be. Like,
Right.
you're your own clone.
Mm-hmm.
Be your own bot. It's all B-O-B. BYOB is in the new age. Be your own robot.
I like that.
I'm mad you didn't like my physics joke, my AI physics joke.
Well, I liked it in the sort of way that a 2-year-old likes a joke.
Yeah. Oh, we have to do our call for papers. This is our call for abstracts.
Yes, sir.
The MAPS publication that we promised some years ago, not years ago, but episodes ago, about publishing science journals. We're bringing to fruition. It's going to happen.
Yep.
And look, here's the thing: you can bring some original piece of science that you did, or are that like it doesn't have to be super complicated. Just maybe it's your research on synchronicities. Maybe it's your research on telepathy. Maybe it's your research on knowing the future, on the predictive power of dreams. Maybe it's if you talk to plants, do they grow more? Sort of thing. I don't know. Whatever it is you want to do, some sort of weird woo-woo science. Do that and write it up in a nice way with your, you know how to do this, guys. Abstract discussion conclusion, right? That's how every paper goes. Write it up, and also we accept philosophical screes.
Yep.
That you can put together, and we're going to put these into a publication.
I was thinking if we get some really good stuff over the year, at the end of the year we could publish like a paper journal.
Yeah. It's we're gonna publish them on the website first, but then when we have enough, we're going to publish a paper journal, and then we're gonna start with probably annually, and then we're gonna move to quarterly as we get more people.
Did we settle on the name of the publication?
No, that's the problem. If you guys have any good names for the name of the publication, you can send me some very good ones. A lot of fun ones. A lot of ones that were serious. A lot of ones that weren't serious.
It needs to have a good acronym, though.
Yes, this is the thing. Anytime you make a thing, you start with the acronym, and then you work backwards. I first learned this when I was working with some people, and I was like, "What's your project?" And they said, "It's Borealis." And it was an acronym, and I was like, okay, well, you clearly just chose that. And then the words were like it was a bunch of filler words. It was like, R was like really, like RL is like really long distance. What is that? What did that even stand for? Borealis Project. Okay. Borealis. I can't spell Borealis. Can you spell Borealis?
I don't know.
I did it. Borealis. And then you put periods between all the letters. And that's how you search for it.
This is great radio, Sumo.
I know, but I wanted to give you an example of what you do. Yeah, like, it's like big optical ray everywhere, array, something. Laser induced synthotropy or whatever. And so they just chose the name. You choose your acronym and then you work backwards.
So I would consider that, the standard that you need to exceed.
Yeah, we got to come up with a really good name for the publication.
We don't want another repeat of the Borealis incident around here.
Yeah, but so this is a call for papers. It's an official call for papers.
We are ready to edit your work.
Right.
And criticize it.
It will be peer reviewed.
Yep. We are your peers here.
Yeah, as in either us or our deepfakes.
Yep.
We'll review it. And it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I was thinking a lot this week about well, first of all, I was getting excited because it's guess what it is?
What is it?
It's Ren Fair season.
Are they even having those this year?
They're having some. Some are coming back. We can have
a Zoom Renaissance fair.
It's It's Ren Fair season, and I don't know my jaunty shoes are ready for dancing.
Right.
I've got my cloth cap. I've got my doublet. I've got my leather breeches. I've got my my lute. Everything is ready. I don't know if you've ever been to Ren Fairs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. What percent of your wardrobe is dedicated to things like Ren fairs and dressing up like Saint Nicholas and whatnot?
Oh, well, okay. So I have my Ren Fair clothes.
Mm-hmm.
I have my Christmas outfits.
Mm-hmm.
I have my
You have
well,
luchador outfit, I
I
think.
have luchador outfits. I have a bunch of like judo gis.
Mm-hmm.
Some of which one of which is like the gi that Goku wore in Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
And another one is green with a turtle shell on the back for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have
Now, those are different than kimonos, right?
well, I do have kimonos. I have 2 summer kimonos and then 1 winter kimono.
Okay.
Which are very, I mean, if you've ever worn the difference, it'd be like one of them's being like wearing a sweater in July.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't wear the winter kimono. Yeah, the winter kimono is a heavy duty thing. Of course, I have a samugi, which is the Zen monk's work jacket that they use for meditation. I have one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bunch of linen pants.
Sounds breezy.
Yeah, linen pants are good. And then, do I have anything else that's really themed? I have a lot of Western wear.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably my favorite, but you can only pull that out on certain occasions.
Right.
I have like a shirt, and it's got like a Thunderbird on the back with like a bedazzled Thunderbird. And then, like a belt with like Navajo patterns, but also like bird feathers.
Awesome.
And then a couple of cowboy hats, cowboy boots. I have these cowboy boots. This is great cowboy boots, where the boot has been hand painted. You got to get your cowboy boots hand painted, guys. That's number one. I spend way more on shoes than my wife does.
That I believe.
Because cowboy boots are very expensive, A.
Yeah.
And then getting them hand painted is expensive. So I take them to this Mexican fella, and he'll paint like Mexican skulls on it. Or but my favorite one is my one where it's like the whole scene of the boot is heaven, earth, and hell. So on the toe of the cowboy boot is like the devil's face, like poking out from under your jeans, right? And a lot of fire.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you roll up the jean, then there's a nice scene of like earth with cows, like a ranch in green. If you roll it up more to where you're at the heel, where it's going up the leg, you see clouds and rays of light coming down as if you're in heaven. So it's my heaven and hell boots.
That's pretty rad.
Which I wear when I want to, really make a statement at church or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think a wardrobe is necessary, and I'll get to that maybe in a little bit.
I'll tell you what else is necessary. It's that our listeners go and give us reviews on the podcasting service of their choice.
Oh, good idea. See, we're getting better at podcasting, where we've been told by podcasting long-timers that asking for people to review your product on the various pod servers of their choice is very important.
This will apparently bring us money by some magic.
It helps the deepfake algorithm to figure out where to put you when things or something. So anyway, they do that and get a wardrobe. But yeah, so Ren Fair season, I'm very ready for, because I've been practicing my juggling. I can juggle grapefruits.
What about torches?
Oranges. I've tried to work up to bowling pins.
Mm-hmm.
Those are a bit more difficult for me.
Okay.
And also out of period.
Yeah.
But I figured they would be a good starter for like axes.
Do you ride a unicycle?
No, I don't. A unicycle is not period.
I don't care.
But you can't. No, you can't. You can play. You gotta. You can't. Look, you'll have fun at the Ren Fair, guys, but you gotta go full hog. You gotta dress up. You can't just go like in your normal clothes and then walk around. You won't have as much fun. But yeah, I mean, you'll go there, and I want to. There's like a guy, and he's playing like modern songs on a lute with like messed up lyrics.
I would find that a little weird.
Well, I know, but some people can do it really well. Like, that song "Pumped Up Kicks"?
Yeah.
Like, I heard one guy there one time, and he was like, it was, all ye bully rooks with your buckskin boots, best ye go, outrun my bow. And he was playing this on a lute.
Okay, that's pretty good.
And it was fantastic.
Oh man.
It was Father worketh all day, he cometh home late, yea, he cometh home late. And it was fantastic. And you see a lot of good people like that. Now, are a lot of Ren Fair people weird and degenerate? Yes, of course.
I imagine so.
But as long as you stay away from the SCA, which I may have talked about before.
No.
You'd be the Society for Creative Anachronism.
Is that like a LARPing group?
Yeah, the Society for Creative Anachronism is something that I like in structure. Like, they have a good idea of a structure, but in practice is a bunch of really sort of quasi-cultish sex behavior.
Ooh.
Yeah, so the Society for Creative Anachronism, or SCA, they have chapters around the world, really, now. They've really grown and metastasized like a cancer. And what they do is they divide the world as we know it into what they call the known world. Mm-hmm. So they have a map, and it looks like our map, but they redraw the boundary lines for various quote-unquote kingdoms. And in all these kingdoms, they appoint a king and a queen, and then lords and ladies underneath them, and then underneath them knights, and underneath them peasants. And these people in this group, like I don't know, let's say you live in Kansas. Well, the west of Kansas may be one kingdom. And in that, and it'll have some name like the Kingdom of Red Hill or whatever. Something completely non-related to Kansas. And everyone will go to the meetings, and they will treat one another as though they actually held all of the titles that they do hold.
Wow.
Including, like, the knights will come there, like, with swords and act as security guards.
Mm-hmm.
And the king and queen will be given all the honors and make all the decisions. And the peasants will provide, like, knitted caps or whatever the peasants do at these get-togethers. And I like the idea of forming another government within the government.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's always fun. I think that's what we're doing here, really.
Yeah.
We're forming maybe a hoplite republic. Right.
Okay.
That's our model.
All right.
That was the original model of America's, because voting is always dumb. You can never be non-degenerate and vote.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
So, but the original ones, the founding fathers, they wanted yeoman farmer hoplites with muskets instead of spears and shields. That was their idea, which is also my idea, but we'll do it with, I don't know, AR-15s rather than muskets. You got to update with the times. But I like that idea, except the SCA, there's a lot of, like, it's a lot of like, you don't be around your other friends. Just dress up like hobbits with us, and don't if you got to have sex with the king or whatever. It's very weird.
So is really like the king sleeping with the peasant women? I mean, is that?
Yeah, it's really weird and pervy. And it hasn't always been this way. And in fact, they've suffered the past year because of social justice issues.
Oh, I bet that's probably been rough for them.
Well, not even Me Too, but
Yeah.
well, what it was the Ren Fair is a period European thing,
Mm-hmm.
and so is the SCA. And people would join that were like half black or or like vaguely Chinese,
Right.
but still mostly white appearing.
Mm-hmm.
But you know how these things go, and they'd be like, "Well, I want to honor my ancestors and dress up like a Zulu and come." And people are like, "Well, that doesn't." One, the Zulu outfit you're wearing is like 3 centuries out of sync. A, and then B, there weren't a lot of Zulus in the in the European, and so it breaks the theme. And the other person's like, "I'm wearing my Han Dynasty clothing," and they're like, "Guys, this doesn't." And then the people, when they say you can't do that, people are like, "Oh, you're racist." And then the SCA was like, the SCA wasn't bothered by all the pervy sex stuff, but they got very hot under the collar about accusing each other of racism for not wanting to dress up like a Paleolithic Vietnamese man or whatever.
So when you join this thing, I'm just thinking about it as a hobby, while we're talking about it. If you join this thing, can you buy in at a high rank so you don't have to?
I think so.
Be treated like a peasant.
You can definitely pass some guilders, if you know what I mean.
Get a little
higher.
I just want to buy my way into a landed title.
Well, I mean, truth be told, that's how titles worked in the original system anyway.
Gotcha. Well, then good. Then it's period. Okay.
It is period. Now the SCA, they also do fighting. With like weapons.
Right.
But they're not good at it. And I say this as someone that has some experience with medieval weaponry.
Mm-hmm.
They're not good at it because, one, they don't take themselves seriously enough to get in shape.
Mm-hmm.
As a pervy medieval hobbit sex cult, you would expect not to. And then 2, they are always using weapons that they've made very, very safe.
Oh yeah.
And you can't learn that way. You got to get whacked hard with a piece of metal.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 3 different branches in the historical European martial arts group. There's the SCA, which they like to hold big battles of people running around with like foam noodle swords. They really love that. And you know what? That can be fun.
Sure.
If you all get out there and you stand in 2 big groups of like 400 people each and you just run at each other and start whacking each other with cardboard and with foam, that can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, everybody's pretty deep in the mead,
I'm not hating them for that, but I am just when they cross over and think that they actually from that know how to sword fight, then I criticize.
Yeah.
And then there's the HEMA crowd, which stands for Historical European Martial Arts, which is people that get together and they form little groups and they practice on their own. And they broke off from the real people, which is ARMA, the Association for Renaissance Martial Arts,
mm-hmm.
which was founded by this dude. I don't remember his name offhand, but a true autist who I wish I could remember his name. Oh, John Clements, who was like, the guy in school that would be like really into like a samurai sword.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
broadsword. So he just took that and he ran with it all the way you could go until he had basically become a modern sword master in a true sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I sparred with him one time, and it was a thing of beauty. He was very in shape. He was like the nerd that got extremely in shape.
Okay.
And when the time I was sparring with him, he was, I don't know. I mean, he's got to be mid-50s, pushing 60.
Mm-hmm.
And he could still like he would spring and jump, and he'd be like at your head. It was very impressive fitness for this guy.
Cool.
And he actually was, watching him fight was a thing of real beauty and grace. It was like what you imagine sword fighting would be.
Mm-hmm.
Because you would hack at him, and I mean like full speed, like swing baseball bat swing at his head.
Yeah.
And he would like, and it would go around, and then he'd have his point in your neck without, and he was like, what even happened? And he had studied he had this giant, he had this dojo basically in the middle of Georgia.
Okay.
Where he built a like a house behind his house, and specifically and so he'd taken FedEx copies, or not FedEx, fax, or copied. He made copies of all of these these German and Italian and English medieval period sword manuals, fencing manuals.
Okay.
And he pasted them all over the wall. Like this was his wallpaper.
Ooh, weird.
And it was all these diagrams and things. And he had learned like Italian and German and French just to read them. And then he had gone through and he like synthesized all of them. And it was very impressive, actually. He'd like recreated an entire art form.
Wow.
From on his own. And he actually had a show on the History Channel for a while called Night Fight. I don't know if you guys ever saw that. It was when they got guys, they put them in heavy armor and just let them bash at each other in a contest. And but yeah, that was good. But it all started from that guy,
okay.
John Clements, who was
you did HEMA for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, except yeah. And so and John Clements is still salty today that anyone calls it anything but Arma, because they all split off from him back in the day, and he's still mad about it. And to be fair, that none of the other people are as good as he is, because they haven't dedicated themselves to learning 14th century Italian in order to read the old man.
But why be mad about it? That's kind of disappointing. Like, just let them go their own way.
Well, because they were all his friends at the beginning.
Oh, okay. It just got weird? Did he just get too intense?
Everything just got weird. And so that's just how it goes. But you can't form a historical fencing society without it getting weird these days.
Yeah, I imagine not.
You can't form an SCA. But the maps, I don't know what we're going to call ours, but our secret government of hoplite people, of musketeer hoplites, is not going to get weird and pervy.
I think Yeoman Farmer Hoplite Republic is a good T-shirt theme.
Yeoman Farmer Hoplite Republic.
Yeah.
Yes. Because look, you can't. There's no such thing as freedom without economic freedom, guys. This is one of the lies of modern America, as people are finding out, because people are like, well, you're gonna, if you don't agree to this weird social justice stuff, we're gonna fire you.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be self-sufficient, and not self-sufficient. You got to be community sufficient.
Yep. You
can't be self-sufficient, really. It's very difficult to have everything.
If you're in a position where you're quote unquote cancelable, where an angry internet mob could get you fired, you need to change your position.
Yeah. If someone with blue hair can get you fired, then you need, and that's not, then you don't really have freedom, do you? So the yeoman farmer is a quote unquote self-sufficient, within limits farmer that also has an AR-15.
I feel like we need to come up with a different word for self-sufficient. Like,
because you can't. It's not really described what we're going for.
Right, like intersufficient, maybe. Yeah,
because you can't. As things get more complicated, your ability to quote unquote provide everything for yourself is very
right.
However,
fundamentally, I think we reject the I am a rock, I am an island sort of lifestyle. Like, You can't build a culture that way.
No. But you can make yourself like, well, I mean, the closest you can get to for starters is just being self-employed.
Yeah.
Or as close to self-employed as possible.
And then you employ people of like mind to work for you.
Right. But what you should do is you should be trying to get the people that work for you also self-sufficient and also self-employed.
Right.
This is the apprentice model.
Yes.
Like you're the master and you start off and you hire an apprentice and they work for you for some years. But the goal isn't for them to work for you forever.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is for you to spin them off.
Yep.
And then what you do is you make a guild, right?
Yep.
Of together. And that way you work together rather than being in. Because what happens today is no one wants to do that because then that person becomes their competition and they try to run them out. So there's no upward mobility because no one is releasing their trainees out into the wild to operate on their own. They have to stay in the corporation for long enough for the person above them to die, and then they take over. And
part of the deal is if you're doing a good job, you don't need to worry about competition.
Exactly. You really don't. Like, a lot of this is so overblown.
It is.
The worry, the fear of not having money is the root of so many evils.
Oh man. But yeah, right. spin off some apprentices, and if there's not room in your market, they'll go find a different market or they'll start a new market somewhere else. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's okay. You're not going to go out of business because you teach somebody how to make a life. Like that's a really good thing.
And if you do it well, almost everyone will be very grateful to you and help you out in the future as well.
Yeah, you know, when you're an old man and all you can do is like turn a screwdriver and all your joints hurt, you know, one of those apprentices that you helped get them started, they're going to help you out.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's more than just like cutthroat capitalism. Freedom does not necessarily imply cutthroat capitalism.
Right.
It's like what is your culture informing you to do with regard to the people you live around and share a life with? You know?
Right. And so like the SCA, we are going to build up a network of yeoman, let's say yeoman in quotes, for you know what I mean. Gentlemen farmers or gentlemen tradesmen or whatever. And it's going to be great. And there's not going to be pervy sex stuff.
Nope. It's going to be very chaste.
You don't have to bow to Smokestack and call him your lordship. I mean, you can. You can, but you don't have to.
It's optional.
Yeah, you don't have to. I was thinking about this week with the mask stuff. Mm-hmm. And like the lack of freedom that people have. And I wanted the mask thing, I realized, and maybe I just made this up in a fever dream, but the mask thing I realized is really a symbol of everything wrong with the country.
Okay.
I will explain. It's the lack of the acceptance of death. Because here's the line on the mask thing. It's like, if you don't wear a mask, you're killing grandma.
Right.
And that's what they use to like needle people with. And then you say, well, is that true? And in a roundabout way, it could be. Mm-hmm. Right? Because anytime you do anything social, you might spread germs that could conceivably spread to another person, that could conceivably spread to someone that was compromised that could die.
Well, it's like the butterfly effect, but it always kills grandma.
Yeah, it's like the butterfly effect, but the butterfly effect is real. I mean, you know, if you doubt the butterfly effect, some cashier was too good at spotting fake 20s and then the world burns. Mm-hmm. But you can't. Here's the thing. It's like you can't. To live is to kill. That's the thing. Mm. And we live without that recognition or a subconscious recognition of that, and then a loathing of that. Like, okay, if you live, let's say you're a moss on the forest floor. Mm-hmm. Well, the spot you occupy, even if you're just a humble moss, is pushing out other things that could have lived there. The roots that you send down, as thin as they may be, are going to soak up some moisture and some nutrients that some other struggling plant beside you is trying to get, and it will die.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when you live in a house, you are killing the plant life around your house. You're killing some of the animal life around your house. You're all of the things that you use to live, your electricity, your iPhones, your the metal in the frame, the concrete, it all involved the killing of things. And really, if you want to push it, the killing of some other humans. Because, if you just think about if just you being there, you're taking something that other people do not have.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you occupying space. To live is to occupy space. And if you occupy space, other things cannot occupy the space.
Yeah.
Right. And so then you are in like a tertiary mode, maybe could be conceived of as killing people. This is the whole thing behind the global warming guilt trip. It's like your life is killing the planet. And that is true, sort of. Like human life does impinge upon animal life, plant life. It impinges upon the environment. But so does the life of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If a tree is going to grow somewhere, it's going to take up the part that I could have lived there. Everything that lives does so. You don't get to live for free. You get to live at the expense of other things.
So really, the spotted owl and the the Icelandic newt are really impinging upon me.
Yeah, you can think of it that way. Like everything impinges. Like to live is there. Like this idea of harmony with nature. Like
yeah,
that's not how it works, guys. You
people that believe in harmony with nature have never tried to survive in a jungle environment before.
No,
because everything is trying to kill and eat you, even the plants.
Yeah, like you can't. And this is also the thing behind like the white guilt narrative. It's like if your society being here pushes out other societies. And the thing is, that's all of these lies are based in truth. Like there's a way of viewing these things where like, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And just like living in a world with smiles potentially kills a grandma. Maybe.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And living in a world without smiles potentially saves a grandma. Maybe. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's debatable.
Mm-hmm. But
you could construct in your head a scenario where that happens. But the thing is, that's always been the case. Yeah, I mean, the coronavirus is just slightly worse for grandmas than like a really bad flu season. Maybe it's 3 times as bad, right? Mm-hmm. 3 times as more dangerous. Okay, but you were still killing maybe a third as many grandmas beforehand last year,
right?
By going out to eat dinner,
mm-hmm.
And you do that, and it's sort of right and good that you should do that.
So there's like a standard of how many grandmas we can kill.
Well,
beyond that, we have to wear masks. But
no, I don't mean it that way.
I know you don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like polar bears don't get sick. Right? Eagles don't get sick. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they're not social animals. A lot of these predators, like a polar bear gets together with a girl polar bear to mate for 3 weeks of the year, and the rest of the time he lives a completely solitary life. Well, the common cold has no chance in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no polar bear cold because you can't have transmission with that much little contact.
Well, that's the lifestyle that they want us to lead.
I know. See, this is the thing. And it leads to a dehumanizing lifestyle because we are not diseases spring up in social animals. If you have a social animal like you're a ground squirrel, mm-hmm. or you're a flock of birds, their diseases happens every time, right? And if you're bees, right?
Yep.
Anything where there's a lot of individuals mixing together, you're going to get diseases. And so humans will have diseases. They will pass to each other, and some of those will kill each other. Okay, but here's the thing. So once you accept that, like, to live is to kill, to live is death, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then what you have to do is you have to say, okay, well, then you have to make your life worth the death that it causes.
Mm.
This is why a lot of olden time people, they would recognize this, and that's why they would dress up real fancy. They'd wear golden bands. They'd carry themselves with high airs. And people look on that now and they think, you're being pompous, you know?
Right.
But I mean, take the British Empire. They, like, in the 1800s, they were going around and red coats and big plumed hats, and they're going around the world, you know, and they're very proper, very concerned with, like, their letters and their art and all this stuff. But you have to be, because if you're going to grow and expand and occupy space that other things and other people could have, then you have to believe that it is worth it.
Yeah.
You have to believe that your life is important enough that it matters. You have to think that God's looking down on you and sees the life that you're displacing and sees you and at least goes, even trade.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But the moment God looks down on you and says, that life is taking up a lot more space than it's worth, you will begin to be crushed. Which is what we're doing now. Because, and I don't know if that works on, like, a supernatural level. I suspect it does, but it definitely works on a psychological level, because people are looking around and they're like, well, I sit at home and look at porn and play video games all day, and I'm not worth this.
Yeah.
And then they let their society go to hell because they are not worth it.
Right.
Right? They're not aiming for anything high. And they look around and they're displacing things. This is why so many people have become such environmentalists lately, because they think, should my life really displace the spotted owl? My life's a piece of junk. The spotted owl is worth a lot more than me. And I'm all for saving species. That's not what I'm getting at. But this over concern with, like, these minutia of the natural world, with your impact on other people groups, with your impact on the fact that if you go out to a restaurant, you may be killing a grandma. This is all indicative of your lack of belief that your own life is worth living. Because if you say, like the idea of kids going back to school and they're all wearing masks, it's like, well, you're going to create a school without laughter. It's like, no, like, the laughter of children, the laughter of friends is, if you want to push it, worth some degree of death. Right? Like, it just has to be, because otherwise everyone is going to, I mean, and that's really pushing it, because it's really like I think the odds of any given person spreading a disease that kills an old person are slim almost all the time.
Yeah.
But in a country of, say, 400 million people, in a world of 7 billion people, that will happen some. Statistically, the odds are very low, but given so many people, it's probably going to happen some. Okay, but also, what's the alternative? You know, everyone lives a dehumanized life, and people have chosen that because they don't feel their life is worth living. And that's why I really enjoy the medieval style of clothing, where they're, like, really dressing themselves up, taking themselves seriously. Or I shouldn't even say seriously, but sincerely. Like, with sincerity, they're getting out there. When you put on a bright yellow doublet and a hat with bells on it, you're saying, here is a life that is befitting of its space. It's experiencing joy, it's experiencing love, it's dancing, it's having a good time, it's doing good work in the world, and this life is worthy of the space that it's occupying. And when you, by contrast, go to an office every day and do meaningless Excel spreadsheets, and then come home and play video games and sit on the couch and watch Netflix, and you do that for 30 years, that life does not say to the world and to God and to heaven that it is worth its space.
Yeah.
Right. And so then it begins to contract. And that's what I was thinking about mass this week. That's why you gotta, like, don't let people fear you. Like, don't operate out of this fear, but also don't operate from guilt. Like, you going around laughing and smiling at other people probably isn't going to kill grandma. A, but then B, in the scenario you can construct where it does, you have to say, well, yeah, but like laughter with friends is worth that risk.
And the alternative, it seems, I mean, you seem to be kind of laying out a convergence as the probability of grandma dying of COVID approaches zero, the number of lives worth living also approach zero.
That's right. Like, you can't, like this is the dumbest thing. This is why conservatives are so dumb. They're like, their line during the whole lockdown thing was like, we got to get back to work. Got to get back to work. It's like, guys, that's dumb. It's not like, people, first of all, most people's jobs are not worth going back to. But anyway, even if they were, what you really got to get back to is like not having lost first loves, is not having missed. You got to get back to seeing your child laughing in the park.
Yeah.
You got to get back to having romance. You got to get back to slapping your friend on the back over dinner. Like that. That's what's worth going back to, not like building the GDP.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and everything is always cast in economic terms. And it's like, I want everyone to just take their money and put it on a table and light it on fire. It would be so much healthier for your spirit if you were just like, I don't care about but just now let's talk about real stuff. Like, getting back to work is so fake and gay. Like, you do. I mean, we do need to work and do stuff, sure, but that's not the reason for that's not life, right? That's not a rejoicing of life.
Well, I tried to, once a week, I take my kids out during the day, just, to get a little one-on-one time, just one of them on their own. And this week it was my daughter's turn, and she wanted to go out to ice cream. So we drove out to the ice cream store, and it was closed. Yeah. And so I said, okay, babe, well, we'll get some, we'll go to the grocery store, get some ice cream, and we'll go to the park. She wanted to go to the park and see the giant snapping turtle at our park. And so we go to the grocery store, we get our ice cream, then we head over to the park. Park's closed.
Yeah.
And so we ended up, sitting in a parking lot on the tailgate of the minivan, eating ice cream, which was really fun, and my daughter didn't complain a bit. But I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what have we done? What have we done?
Right. And you saw this when some of the governors, when it first started happening, they were like, not even one death is acceptable.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, that is completely ridiculous, because as we've seen, no matter what you do, people will die. It is a fallacy to think that you can stop this.
Yep.
Right. Because ironically, I've noticed, and someone was pointing this out the other day, the more people are wearing masks, the more the virus seems to be spreading. Like, the virus mask has gone up. And that's like, and I have some theories as to why that would be. Primarily, I think it gives you false security. Because you think, I'm wearing a mask, I can get real close and talk to people. And they're like, I'm wearing a mask too, so it's fine. And then you get within like 2 feet of each other and you talk for 30 minutes, and then you go away, and then you spread the virus.
Right.
Whereas if you didn't have a mask, then you would probably step farther away, and then it would be not as spreading. That's my theory as to why that's happening. But which is what, by the way, originally the epidemiologist said was the reason they didn't recommend masks in the beginning. But then masks became like a way of like letting the public do something so they could feel like they were doing something.
Yeah.
Right. That's all it is. It's letting the public do something so they can feel they're being proactive, because people need to feel they're being proactive in the time of a crisis. but it doesn't actually do anything. But like you're not actually saying, and then, but so the virus will spread regardless, and it will take out who it's going to take out. That seems to be what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And you can probably maybe spare some old people by shuttering them away, but other than that, so all of your efforts are not you will lose lives. Like the idea that the loss of life is acceptable is ridiculous. And then B, that's not like some loss of life is always acceptable. That's the thing. You got to accept death. Like when you build a bridge, you build it and you say, I'm reasonably sure this isn't going to fall down. I could spend $100,000 more and make it even more sure it wouldn't fall down.
Mm-hmm.
But that risk of the life of people dying on the bridge is not worth that extra $100,000.
Yeah.
You make these decisions every day. You think when you get in the car and you drive, there's a risk that you will die or that you will kill someone else.
Yeah. You
think it's worth it because I have to go do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I bought a van for my family and not a Chevy Suburban that weighs 4 tons or something, I made a calculated decision on their safety in a car wreck.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get away from death, and we live in a death-phobic society.
Yeah.
But the thing is, death and life go hand in hand. This is what I said. To live is to die. Even just eating, even if you're a vegetarian, you're killing something. Mm-hmm. And plants do have feelings. That'll be one of our science experiments for our publication. I am very convinced that plants have feelings.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on the same level that we have feelings, but they if you are mean to plants, they will wilt. That's all I'm saying. They get it. So you must, everything that lives at the expense of something else that could live.
Yeah.
Including you. And in fact, life is so intrinsically tied to death that in the womb we're sculpted by death. Have you ever watched, like, masses of cells develop and then they die away? And that's how the form of the human body is sculpted.
Really?
You develop into like this sort of blobby thing first, and then those cells die away. Death comes in and he carves out the human being from the mass of life. And so death and life are linked together at the hip, and you can't get away from it. And this like extremely death-phobic society where everyone's both afraid to die and afraid to kill, whether it be other people or animals or plants or whatever, like you're gonna kill stuff.
Just as a little aside, everybody needs to kill an animal with their hands a few times in their life.
You do,
because,
and
not in a cruel way.
A gun.
Yeah, but the first time I did it was a rabbit, because I was learning how to process rabbits and cook them and for meat. Right. And I was the first guy in the class to volunteer, and the instructor said, "Okay, pick him up by his back feet, and you've got to karate chop the neck." And so when I signed this up, I thought the rabbits were going to be dead when we started. He said, "You got to karate chop the neck." I said, "Are you serious?" He says, "Yep." And I said, "Okay." And I reared back and I karate chopped the back of that rabbit's neck, and it sure enough worked like a charm. And that that animal's twitching in my hand, and you really learn a lot. And I don't even know, it's not a lot of rational stuff, but it's just, my life entails the death of animals. Lots of them. Lots of animals have died for me.
Yeah, and lots of plants. And if you push it, other people.
Yeah.
Like that just...
Yeah, and on the cosmic scale, Christ died for me.
Right.
My life necessitated the death of Christ.
I mean, even if you find it hard to see that your life right this second entailed the death of other people.
Yeah.
Right? Which, if you really get imaginative, you can see that it does. But other people died for you to be born and to exist as you are right now. Like, they made sacrifices all the way back into history.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're not, you don't get to live for free. You always get to live at the cost. Yeah, like, or if you or go kill a chicken. Chickens are easy because chickens are dumb and they're stupid, and it's easy to kill them. Because look, guys, chickens are extremely stupid.
They are. And a day of killing chickens will really change your perspective.
Yeah, just grab their head and like spin them around till their head pops off.
Yep.
And then you'll be different. You'll be different. You need to slaughter an animal.
Yeah.
And eat the animal. Don't just do it for this purposes. But it is different to do it with your hands than it is hunting and shooting it with a gun.
Right. I think
because
so.
a gun is somewhat impersonal.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhat, you can do it at a distance and it feels a little sterile. If you do it with like a knife or a karate chop.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that's a good way for exercise. Everyone go out and karate chop a cow to death. That's your...
I don't know that it would work on a cow.
That'd be pretty impressive, though.
It's a good way to make the news.
Yeah, man karate chops cow to death.
Florida man arrested karate chopping cow.
Oh, Florida man.
So I think this was a good perspective check on the mask thing.
Yeah.
I want to bring up a couple more points about it because I've been thinking a lot about masks too this week.
Uh-huh.
And the one thing I want to bemoan the situation a little bit because I feel that it has rapidly turned into an opportunity for half the population to virtue signal in the absence of real virtue, and the other half of the population to freedom signal in the absence of real freedom.
It's true.
And both sides. If I'm not saying everybody that wears or doesn't wear a mask is doing it for these reasons, right. But I'm saying a lot of people are doing it for those reasons. And both sides are kidding themselves.
Yeah.
You're not virtuous. You're not more virtuous than non-mask wearers for wearing a mask. And then on the other side of that, and I don't think a lot of right-wingers want to hear this part of it, but if you're not wearing a mask because MAGA or get your stupid laws off me, government, I'm a free man. If you think that not wearing a mask is accomplishing and ensuring your freedom, you're kidding yourself, because we have no freedom.
Right.
A blue-haired lady can get you fired. Okay, right. That's not freedom, and you didn't get more free by wearing a mask. But it lets the people entirely without virtue pretend that they're virtuous. And similarly, it pacifies, if you're going to rebel against a mask order or whatever, it pacifies the instinct that you have to ensure your own freedom, so you don't do anything actually dangerous to the ruling order. I went out and I stuck it to the man today. So now I'm going to go home and watch Netflix and tell myself that I'm free because I didn't wear a mask. And that's another problem. And I don't think most people are doing it for those reasons, but I think many are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then another thing on the mask is that, I asked myself, because when I go to the grocery store or whatever, I know a lot of the people that work there. I go to the same shops and I know the folks and I've been, typically I will wear one. And I was thinking to myself, why am I doing this? Because I don't really believe that they're necessary or good.
Uh-huh.
And I think I'm doing it to be kind to the shop clerks that didn't ask for any of this.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to one of them the other day, and she was just really upset because people were coming in. People that probably have very similar political views that I do. They were coming into the shop, and she has to ask them to put a mask on.
Yeah.
Or she will be fired for, or the business could get sued or whatever, because the state I'm in is really being retarded about this. And so she's compelled to ask the people to come in to wear one. And she was just so bummed out because people, even people that, she kind of knew and were generally got along with, repeat customers of the business, were being extremely rude and nasty to her.
Yeah.
When she doesn't want to ask anybody to wear this thing. She's not worried about dying for the of the virus or whatever.
Yeah. Well, don't take out your anger on the.
It's not their fault, and you're not doing anything for freedom. You're not more free by being a tool to a shop clerk.
Yeah.
And and you're not doing anything for your political cause by being a tool. Because these shop clerks that I'm talking about, they're young, they're in their probably early 20s, and they're politically naive, I would say, to a large degree.
Right.
But man, way to like convince them never ever to think about right-ish ideas is to act like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of don't in general, don't take it like the people. If you go to a hotel and you rant at the clerk behind it about your stay,
yeah,
guys, they can't do anything.
They can't. It's not their fault.
Everyone you interact with in a business has no authority whatsoever in almost every case, which is another reason. And this is another reason I'm so against the current economic system we have, is that everyone that everyone that is actually accountable is faceless and away.
Yeah.
They put a bunch of minimum wage people out in front and say, you deal with all the anger.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to the minimum wage people that have to deal with it because it's not their fault.
And they're not getting paid enough. Yeah.
Because they can't argue with the person that actually is doing the bad thing.
Yeah.
And then they hide behind. If you actually want to get to them, you go through like 1,000 phone trees and some guy in India, and then he routes you to some guy in Vietnam. And then maybe after you go through all that, you'll talk to someone who can maybe change a cell on a spreadsheet somewhere for you.
Oh, health insurance companies are the perfect example of this. Friends of mine fought for, I don't know how many years now, to get a very expensive medication that their daughter needed. And the garbage they had to go through to do that. But you know what? It wasn't those frontline people's fault.
Yeah.
It was the big executive type's fault that made the decision. That was making the decision the whole time behind 6 different layers of other people. Yeah. And that's the way the system's built now.
That's true. Also, though, I feel like there's 2 paths that we need to go down for freedom. And one is you got to just build your own stuff.
Yeah.
Build your own community. Have your own, we should, all of the maps people should eventually have like land with yurts on it that we can go between in our own little SCA.
Yeah.
But so that's one. But 2, I do feel like, and I've done this a bit. I mean, on some level, if you're doing nonsense orders, it is a little bit your fault.
Yeah, at some point you have to withdraw yourself from an evil system.
We'll just say, and I've done this more than once, and it's never comfortable. But so far, knock on wood, I don't have any wood, but knock on it, it's worked out for me. Where, I'm like, interacting with some business or some employer, and they're like, well, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And I just go, well, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Because that's weird. Mm-hmm. And I don't even have to give it's just weird. It's just, you have to be willing to put all your money on a table and burn it Joker style. Yeah. You have to be willing to do that. Otherwise you will just go along with everything. And like, guys, it doesn't just burn all your life. Throw the money in the river. This is why I say that. Mm-hmm. Every once in a while, when you're driving over a river, take $20 and throw it over the bridge.
If you're, I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit. If you're working for a mega bank like Bank of America or Wells Fargo or something, and you listen to our show, you should quit and go work for a company that's not completely evil.
Yeah, the modern banking system is irredeemable.
It is. But the whole thing needs to come down. And get yourself out of that thing before it's a smoking crater, because that which cannot, live will eventually die. And I feel like the modern banking system, at least on a moral level, it's irredeemable, like you said. And
it's irredeemable. But to get over your fear of losing money, and this is just, people think like, oh, this is, drive over a bridge, take some cash, and just throw it out the window. Yeah. Like it does, and then realize how little it matters. Mm-hmm. And you could do this with pretty large sums of money and go about your life, and then you're like, no, nothing changed. Yeah, nothing is different. And like, don't let people control you through fear of losing money.
Mm-hmm.
Because money is not, here's the thing, guys. You should not ever be saving money. This is in the Bible. What you do with money is you reinvest it into the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like the guy in the Bible, in the story, that took his money and he buried it in a hole to keep it safe, he goes to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The guys that took their money and put it out in the world and got increased back. What you should be doing with your money is getting land, getting resources, building communities. You should be, gaining things that will enable you to live more on your own.
Yep.
Or more in, like, if you have $30,000 in the bank, okay, but then if you have instead of that, you have a plot of land where you're planning on starting a homestead.
Yep.
It's way better, and it's also a better long-term investment because the value of the money is going to go down, but the value of the property is probably going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Don't just hoard money. That's one of the ways people like, what if I do this, I'll lose my retirement? Like, you just put it, like, get you property, get land, get things to help you.
Yep.
Make more stuff in the future, right?
Build an estate so nice that your kids want to live on it and don't want to leave, and then boom, a couple generations hence, you've got a village that's built on your work. And it reflects your values and the heritage of your family. I mean, what an incredible mark to leave on the world,
Yeah, because money isn't real, but it's a hologram that we use as a replacement for real wealth.
Yeah.
If you have like 2 bars of gold sitting in a safe, well, that doesn't do you a lot of good. If you transform that gold into like a land of alpacas,
mm-hmm.
then at least you have something to wear in the winter.
Yeah.
Being the alpaca skin.
Yep.
No, not the skin, the fur. You know what I'm saying? You
know
what I'm saying? Like,
I hear you.
Like, look, I'm just saying, every time in scriptures, every time Jesus mentions someone saving stuff, they go to hell. That's true. In that parable of talents, and the one about the rich man who worked for many years and he saved up everything in the barn, and he says, now I will rest, eat, drink, and be merry. He says, you fool!
Yeah.
This very night your life will be required of you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Every time someone saves money, Jesus says, you're going to hell. Because I won't get into why, but just think about that. Just think about that. Man.
So I guess in review, if you don't want to wear a mask, that's probably a good thing. Yeah. But if somebody asks you to wear masks, don't be a tool. Instead, say, I want to live in the world with smiles and laughter in it. And this is just the stand I'm making, and I love you, fellow human.
Yeah, don't be a tool. And if if a minimum wage worker is gonna get in trouble over it, don't get them. It's just, but
maybe just wear it for the 5 minutes you're in the store, and then take it back off.
Yeah,
to be nice. To be nice to Floyd, To
Floyd. Yeah. So we don't. Yeah. I mean, to me it looks very dystopian.
Yeah.
On an aesthetic level,
it does.
And it makes me have a guttural revulsion, and it makes me queasy in my stomach and feel weird.
Yeah.
To see everyone. So that's why I don't like it. But anyway, yeah. But you know what?
What?
Now we're going to talk about something upbeat.
All right.
And this is animals in the United States that may not be extinct.
Sweet.
So you might not know this, but in recent years, as in within living memory of some people that are very old, some animals have gone extinct in the U.S., allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that we could maybe find some and maybe bring some back. So, have you ever heard of the passenger pigeon?
No.
Nobody has. The passenger pigeon supposedly went extinct like in the 1920s or early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know exactly when there was the last passenger pigeon died on September 1, 1914 at the Cincinnati Zoo. The last one. And the thing about the passenger pigeon is it sounds like a very abnormal pigeon because it looked like a pigeon. I saw some photos of it. And it lived like sort of in the New England Great Lakes area, a little bit down into Virginia. Okay. But here's the thing about the passenger pigeon. Apparently, when they got in flocks and would fly, one, it could fly at 62 miles an hour.
Oh, that's a pretty good clip.
Which is a very fast bird. But then two, it would fly in these gigantic flocks of like thousands, and they would all squawk, and the sound was said to be deafening up close. Like if a flock of these pigeons flew over you, it was like standing next to a freight train going woo, but like instead of woo, like wah, wah, like really harsh and upsetting. And and they said you could hear it for like 4 miles away coming, this flock. Like as it got closer to you, it would just overwhelm you.
Sounds awful. I'm glad they're extinct.
Well, but see, so
oh no, my nightmare is coming true. Well, the passenger pigeons aren't dead.
Well, I think that there have been reports. There have been reports. There have been a few of sightings of a few of them. And I find this one not as credible because this is a flocking bird. And I don't think it would survive on its own. It needs a flock.
Okay.
I doubt that there are any of these living right now. However, there is a project right now called the Great Passenger Pigeon Comeback.
Oh, no.
And they've taken DNA from the passenger pigeon, and they're going to Jurassic Park style try to clone an embryo and implant it in a normal pigeon and reproduce the species.
Sounds like a bad idea.
I'm for this because I want to reproduce all species. Because here's the thing. Maybe our lives do cost death, but maybe if we live high enough and we elevate our life high enough, we can bring everybody back. Like we'll bring back the dodo bird and the velociraptor and everybody, and we'll just all live on Earth together in a big happy time.
I mean, I wouldn't mind having dodo birds. I don't know about velociraptors, but
if we can, what if we do resurrect the species? Wouldn't that be crazy?
Woolly mammoth. I want woolly mammoths.
Woolly mammoths. Well, some people in Russia say they're not dead. Out in Siberia.
I want one.
Now, have you seen those guys that they were eating the woolly mammoth?
I did. Yeah, they found one frozen in the tundra and they ate some of it.
It had been permafrosted and they ate some.
Yeah,
I'd eat some. And you could do that one too because that's just a hairy elephant. You take it, you get the DNA, you clone the embryo, you put it in an Indian elephant. I would assume would be the closest match, not an African elephant. You know, you can tell the difference between the elephants by the Indian elephant's ear lobe looks like the continent of India, the subcontinent.
Oh,
we all know that.
Well, that's handy.
Yeah, and so we could bring them back. We could bring back the passenger pigeon, the woolly mammoth. So that's set. They say they're going to try and have this done and recreate the passenger pigeon by 2025. I'm skeptical that it'll happen that fast. But we'll see. We will see.
Now, I do think it's possible that extinct species or species that have been extincted, like the eastern wolf, can kind of sort of come back by breeding other things, like the coy wolves. Have you heard about these guys?
Yeah.
And it's coyotes and large domestic dogs breeding together to make a super coyote, which is essentially the return of the eastern wolf.
Yeah. Well, and that says a lot. You know, when there was this whole there's the human biodiversity crowd, the HBD crowd, which talks about like the different. This is a complicated issue, but like what's a subspecies and what's not a subspecies?
Right. Yeah.
Because look, different species can interbreed. Just because you can interbreed with each other doesn't mean you're the same species. I mean, you can make a whale and a dolphin, a wholphin. Now you have to artificially inseminate, but it does work. I mean, a mule, for goodness sakes, right? Donkey and a horse, a beefalo, which is a buffalo and a cow. Beefalo. I went down a rabbit hole of hybrid animals.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. You can do a kama, which is a camel and a llama. You can do a liger or a tigon. Now, when you match the words together, the father animal's name goes first. So a tigon is a male tiger, female lion, and a liger is a male lion, female tiger. And they look very different. A tigon's very different than a liger. You can do coy wolves. You can do you can mix the ostrich and the emu. You can mix the kangaroo and the wallaby. I think they call it a wallaroo. And their names get great. But all I'm saying is there's a lot of, just because things can interbreed doesn't mean they're the same species.
Right.
Which you got to think about that. What does that mean for things like, say, Neanderthal?
Did you see the kid that supposedly was half chimpanzee? Did you see that? That
was weird, and I didn't want to think about it.
I don't know if that was real, but I hope it wasn't real.
But it was so weird looking.
Weird looking kid.
I didn't want to think about it. Though, the Russians had a program to try and make a human chimpanzee hybrid.
Maybe they did it.
Maybe they did it. The Soviet Union did have that where they tried to, I mean, I don't want to get graphic, but they used a lot of artificial insemination both ways.
Okay.
I don't think it took off. But
Oof.
But yeah, that kid looked, I'm hoping that was just weird Photoshop, very good Photoshop.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But honestly, for things like Neanderthal, because people are like, Neanderthal is like, well, was he the same? What was he just another like race of people that were called? Like if Neanderthal was alive today, we'd probably just call him a different race. Because if you said you're a different species, he'd be like, I'm offended.
Right.
Just like the Geico cavemen. Or like the Denisovans, like the little hobbit people in South America, they were different. I don't know what they were going.
I mean, if you were to say, you can even mix this up here. So if you were to take the blonde hair of the Nords, the Nordic peoples, and put it on the body type of the Mongolian people, like this big old hulking thing, or maybe like a Polynesian, like big giant guy.
Yeah.
And then the facial structure of a Aborigine. I mean, that'd be a weird new thing that we would probably say,
supposedly that's what Genghis Khan was.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Genghis Khan was a Mongolian, but they said he had red hair and green eyes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on with Genghis Khan. But anyway, so that's the passenger pigeon. And I think that is he going to come back? I doubt it. Unless, I mean, is he going to come back? Maybe. Is he still alive? Doubt it. The other one is the eastern cougar. Now this one, I know a lot of people that have said, listen, there's not supposed to be any cougars around here, but I've definitely seen a cougar.
Awesome.
Like out in Virginia or Pennsylvania or whatever.
That one gets me kind of excited. Here's
the problem, though. One of the big problems is that it's very controversial that the eastern cougar is even a separate species. Because people are like, is it, or is it just the same western cougar like the Rocky Mountain cougar that just used to live over here and doesn't anymore?
Right.
And people go back and forth, and they've done DNA tests and said, well, it's the same. And then some people are like, well, no, it's not the same. It's like the California grizzly versus the Alaskan grizzly, right? Mm-hmm. It's different. And then even if you see one in Pennsylvania, say, or in South Carolina, it doesn't mean that it's the remaining, it's a lost eastern cougar, because it could just be a western cougar that's traveled really far that year, because they do that.
Okay.
So this one's difficult to work with because it A, might not be a different species, and B, even if you find one, it might just be the other one on the other that just walked a long way. So this one is a problem. Now, the eastern cougar was officially declared extinct by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So not that long ago, like 2 years ago, it was like, well, there's not enough of them. I guess we'll call it extinct.
I feel like a lot of times when they declare an animal extinct, they end up getting embarrassed and having to walk it back.
They do. They do. In fact, there was like 3 animals in like 2018, like a turtle and like a shrimp or something that were extinct, and then they weren't anymore.
I'm just saying, maybe back off a little bit on the extinction declarations, guys. I know you're trying to justify your budget for the next year, but
yeah,
maybe back it up.
Yeah. Now, here's the one that I'm excited about. Have you ever heard of the ivory-billed woodpecker?
I have.
The ivory-billed woodpecker they thought it went extinct because of typewriters.
Because of typewriters?
Well, they wanted to make this case for these, not typewriters, sewing machines. They wanted to make these cases for these sewing machines, so they cut down a lot of trees in this one area.
Oh, okay.
It turned out to be the main habitat of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so because ladies were sewing too much, these things died.
It's a shame.
But the ivory-billed woodpecker is a beautiful-looking bird. There are pictures of him from the before times, and he has, as it imagines, an ivory-colored bill. He's big. He's got black feathers, but he's got these white stripes down him and this big red crest on his head. And the last universally accepted sighting was in Louisiana in 1944, and it was declared extinct because they thought, well, it's gone. However, then in 2006 and 2007, there were 2 videos taken on the Pearl River of Mississippi, Louisiana, and a third video on the Chattahoochee River in Florida that clearly show a large woodpecker that could easily be the ivory-billed woodpecker. And it's like, is it dead? Is it dead? But here's the problem. Ivory-billed woodpecker from a distance looks a lot like the pileated woodpecker, which I know everyone gets into this problem every day. You're like, is that ivory or pileated? Well,
the one way you can tell them apart is that the ivory-billed's call sounds like an alien invasion.
That's true. The ivory-bill call, the call of the ivory-bill, I'm going to try to replicate it with just my mouth.
Well, I have a clip here.
Well, hold on. Let me try to replicate it with my mouth, and then you play the clip and see.
Okay.
So the ivory-bill's call is toot! Just a loud toot. Like toot! Okay. And the call of the pileated is rather a cook, cook. Like, so you got a toot versus a cuck, like a T-O-O-T versus a K-U-K. That's one way to tell. All right, you play the ivory bill.
Okay.
See, that's pretty much exactly what I said.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty much the exact same sound, I think. The other ways but here's how you know. But see, from a distance, they do look pretty similar. But when you get up close, here's what you got to look for. A, ivory bill has an ivory bill.
Dead giveaway.
It's like a white pale, whereas the pileated has a dark bill. The ivory bill is also larger, and the pileated is like crow-sized. Okay. The ivory bill has these white stripes that don't touch the bill. Okay, they don't run up and touch the bill of the bird. They rather sort of converge on the lower back in like a saddle shape. Whereas the pileated has white stripes also, but they do touch the bill and they run under the wings. Okay.
All right.
You got this. So you can visually tell the difference if you're close enough, but you see white stripes at a distance and you're like, is those going under the wings or over the back? I don't know. And is the bill, so the problem in these videos, of these ivory-billed woodpeckers that people have captured, it's like it goes by so quickly, and you're like, that was definitely a woodpecker, and it was definitely had stripes and was black, and it was 80% sure it was the ivory bill, but it might have been a pileated moving too fast. That's the problem. That's why they're not universally accepted. But that recording that you just heard was taken in recent times, like within 15 years.
Oh, cool.
Which makes it sound like it's still alive, because that is not the call. That resembles the call of the ivory-billed woodpecker that they used to talk about, and is not the call of the pileated woodpecker. So it's probably still out there. But we just have spurious report. There was a big push in the 2010s, early 2010s, of people going out and looking for it. Inconclusive. That's why I'm announcing right now the MAPS expedition to find the ivory-billed woodpecker.
Awesome.
We're going to get on a boat, because this thing lives in swamplands.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go down the river, and we're going to find definitive proof of the ivory-billed woodpecker.
Now, that'll be a big boost for morale, I think.
It's what we're going to do. We're going to find the ivory-billed woodpecker and bring it back from the dead.
We can write a paper and put it up on the journal.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to put our proof just in our own dumb journal that we just made. It'd be like, the first edition is here. We proved this species is actually still alive.
And, we'll be in the paper, and they'll have to say, discovered by the Mystical American Patriot Society.
Yeah, in their publication, which talks about also talking to plants.
And then we'll get a big influx of new members from the birdwatching community. Yes.
If you want to, hopefully Delicious Tacos, who's a bird watcher. If you want to go on this expedition, let us know. Okay. We're not going to charge you anything. Mm-hmm. This isn't like if you go with the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, they want to charge you like $1,200 to go look for Bigfoot. This is not that. You got to pay for your own food and camping gear. But that's all. We're not making a dime off this. This is purely a scientific expedition.
Sweet.
We're going to shoot for this in late fall this year.
Pith helmets are encouraged.
Pith helmets are encouraged. I do have a pith helmet. Do you have a pith helmet?
I don't. I need to get one before now.
Your wardrobe needs a lot of work.
Apparently. I'm just learning this.
You're not keeping up with the times.
I'm gonna raise the standard.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I found those two. Yeah, the walrus. This is a 3 species. All right. So last year, it wasn't 2018. It was last year, between February 21st and March 4th of 2019, 3 species thought to be extinct were found not to be. And that was a Ferdinand Island Galapagos tortoise, Wallace's giant bee, which I guess is like a bumblebee, and the Four-Mason clouded leopard. Ooh. I think it's Four-Mason. I don't think it's Freemason. But of course the other one, which is, I feel like I talked about this last time, but I feel like we need to get the ivory billed under our belt before we take on the California grizzly.
I want clouded leopard. Well, I guess it's already been rediscovered, but
right.
Can I get a hat made of clouded leopard? Because I think that would be really cool.
That would be awesome.
They're beautiful.
But yeah, I talked last time about how the California grizzly is probably still alive in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
I did some more research on this.
Yep.
So there was the Mexican grizzly bear, which is the same as the California grizzly bear, which is on the California flag, but isn't in California anymore, was declared extinct in 1964. However, there was this paper in the 80s written by Jose Trevano, the director of the Department of Fauna at the University of Chihuahua. He wrote a paper in the 80s called, appropriately, quote, "Do grizzly bears still exist in Mexico?" Which I think in Spanish would be, "Que grizzly bear un Mexico?"
That was good. That's good.
And but it was a joint effort between him and some Americans, and they went up through the Sierra Nevada mountains there in Mexico, and they hiked around for like 2 or 3 weeks, and they left all these little traps and these little things, and here was their findings. They set several snares but didn't catch any. They were using burro meat as bait, which I guess is what you do in Mexico.
Sure.
They found a lot of, now there are black bears there. Definitely black bears in Mexico at this point. So they, that complicates matters because you think, is this a black bear? But anyway, they said they did find most of their burro meat was at least disturbed or taken by some kind of bear, which left tracks and hair. Okay. Now the hair was later found to be black bear hair.
Okay.
However, the claw marks that they found on a tree nearby looked to be a grizzly bear. They're big and deep, right? And not like the size of a normal, it would be a very large black bear.
Right.
If it were a black bear. And then he went on to say, and then he said, toward the end of the expedition, through our binoculars, we caught sight of a large brown bear with rounded ears, standing upright, what appeared to be about 9 foot tall from a distance of about 400 yards.
Woo.
Which sounds like a grizzly bear. That cannot be a black bear. And then they said later, the next day, they saw another sighting of a cinnamon-colored bear, which again is not a black bear, that was slightly smaller from a slightly greater distance. Right? But they couldn't get a clear picture of it. It was through the brush. They were looking at it with binoculars. So if that's true, then Jose in the 1980s, which is only, that's only like 40 years ago, saw definitely alive 2 California black bears, or 2 California grizzly bears. Still alive.
What do you do if you catch one of those in a snare? What do you do?
That's a good question.
I feel like their plan didn't have a lot.
Look, grizzly bears live for like 25, 30 years, guys.
Yeah.
Like those that they saw aren't still alive, but if they had kids, they're still alive. And so we could, after we find the ivory-billed woodpecker, we're going to go to Chihuahua, and we're going to find Mexican grizzly bears, and then bring them back to California.
So every year, maybe it'll be an annual expedition to find lost species.
Right. Every year we are going to go find lost species.
I like it.
Every year. And I think people are going to, we're going to be very successful. We're going to find the ivory-billed woodpecker. That's going to be our headlining paper in our new journal. Yeah. A lot of people, I bet the ivory-billed woodpecker doesn't wear a mask.
No, he doesn't. He's loud and proud.
Yeah.
Well, everybody.
How much time have we done today?
Hour 37.
Hour 37? That's not bad.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about panhandles, but I'll save that for next time.
Well, all right. Well, so now don't forget, everybody. Sign up for the expedition for the ivory-billed woodpecker. More details coming soon, but let us know. We're really
going to go do that.
Let us know if you're interested, and leave us a review.
Yeah, that would be great. We're going to go find that bird.
Yep.
And look, we're not going to catch it because look, I don't want to catch it and like maybe it has a nest.
We're going to photograph it.
Of the last remaining 8 baby woodpeckers, and then I catch the bird, and then I bring it back like, look at me, and then I took away its mother, and then we're gonna get it clear on camera.
Yep. Maybe we'll leave them a basket of bugs.
Yeah, unquestionable footage of the ivory-billed woodpecker, and then we'll be able to declare the zone where we found it a nature preserve.
I'm sure our listeners in the forestry industry are just loving us right now.
Yeah, they are. They're also named Robert.